This week on Supercars Talk, the season is over and Will Brown is your 2024 Supercars champion. The big news this week is that not only Brodie Kostecki and George Cummins will be going to DJR for next year, but Tom Moore, who's been engineering Jack Le Brocq this year, will be headed that way too. He will be engineering Will Davison next year. Perry Kappa, who has been engineering Di Pasquale this year, he's going to be joining Supercars as a technical in the technical team, whatever role he takes. Some part of the technical team. And Richard Harris, who has been engineering Will Davison, it's likely he's departing too, probably to Walkinshaw Andretti United. So more movements there. Speaking of Walkinshaw's, looks like they have signed Jaden Ojeda to probably partner Chaz Mostert in the endurance races next year. Jaden, of course, had a really successful run this year with Erebus. Another one jumping the coop. Is that the saying? Speaking about co-drivers, it's been confirmed that James Moffat will be staying with Tickford, but he will be partnering Thomas Randall next year, while it's expected that Frosty will be making an announcement very shortly to join Cam Waters in the Monster Energy car next year. And in Super 2 news, Ruben Goodall has signed from Erebus Motorsport to Tickford for next year. He'll be joining current duo of Dalton and Gray, who are continuing on for next year, while Brad Vaughan will be out. TBA on where Brad will be racing next year. And in the Supercars, not a big surprise, but Jackson Evans has been confirmed. He will be driving the SCT Logistics car next year. Now, before I get onto the team rundown for the weekend, we have got the talking points over the weekend. The big one, Turn 8 victims. We had a couple of concussions over the weekend. Do we need to look at adjusting this corner? Some kind of barrier? I don't know. We've had quite a few iterations of this corner over the years, and this one, finally, they settled on, and it seemed to work for a long time, but there has been some big hits over the weekend. I suppose one of the big things, though, with this is that the cars were repaired and did go back out on the track. We didn't lose, other than the Jackson Evans one on Sunday, but that was probably more a timing issue, and then the fact that Jackson was going to sit out the race, so no point in putting the car back together. But yeah, we've probably seen more incidents in, say, even the Gen 2 area where a car was written off for the weekend there, whereas cars did get back out on track, but it is a bit worrying that we did have, at least 2 drivers over the weekend have to sit out after crashing into that wall. Driver swaps over the weekend. I think the last time it happened, funnily enough, Richie Stanaway was involved with GRM at the Gold Coast when they made him sit out. And then prior to that, I think the next previous one was when GRM made him sit out at Winton. So Richie has a bit of a run on these things. So over the weekend, Jack Le Brocq was about to have his first baby, so he rushed home. The baby was born during the race on the Saturday. Apparently, mother and child are doing very well. Congratulations, Jack, on your firstborn. So Erebus let him go for the weekend. Pretty convenient, though, that Cooper was there ready to go, and he got a start on things for next year. And then obviously Stanaway sitting out. He had that big crash on Friday. Probably the big surprise on that one was that they were going to get the car back out for the qualifying session had it continued to run. But then, he did Saturday morning warm-up, wasn't feeling right, and sat out the rest of the weekend. Obviously, there was the hoopla. Kai Allen was going to be in, and then he wasn't, and then it was Dale Wood. I would have thought it would have been exciting to see Garth Tander in there for a bit of a run, but unfortunately, he didn't have his helmet there, and that maybe he wasn't asked. Dale Wood was prepared. Then Sunday, obviously, Kai Allen got that dispensation to partake. All the Super 2 commitments were over and done by then, so he could partake in the race. Next point, how spicy is the potential finale going to be next year? The championship was basically over this weekend, and we still had some really spicy racing over the weekend. Imagine if you've got 4 guys going hell for leather trying to take out the championship, especially on the Sunday here next year. This is always, Adelaide hasn't had many snooze fest races here. They usually turn it on, so that is quite exciting as a finale next year. The 2 retirees this weekend, Frosty and Slade, they went out with a whimper rather than a bang. No rookie winner on Sunday. I'm looking at you, Ryan Wood. Why didn't you go and win? And Will Brown, that drive on Sunday, just absolute champion drive. Yeah, that says it all. The champion had a champion drive on Sunday. So now for my usual rundown of the teams. Some of the order actually changed over the weekend. Surprisingly, we got this far into the championship and they're still moving around that pit lane order. But this is where it will sit for the start of next year. Kicking it off, not the Blanchards, but the BJR B team. Hard to remember now that both cars actually made the shootout on Saturday, but then, just dropped backwards in the race. Macca appeared to stay out of trouble all weekend, which was quite good because, the sister car, massive shunt in qualifying on Sunday. I was very surprised that they were even trying to put that thing back together for the race, expecting that they would get it back together. That would have been a hell of a task to do that in that time, but ultimately pulled the pin on that when Jackson wasn't going to be fit enough to race. Blanchards, they didn't finish last in the team's championship. Both cars made the shootout on Saturday, and Aaron showed some of that Super 2 speed that he had last year, actually qualifying 6th in the race. I kind of had high hopes, thinking with him starting up the front there, he'd actually be able to race up the front. It's very different when you're starting at the front. You kind of get into that rhythm and off you go, because it's not like these guys are just tooling around. They can actually drive. But anyway, that was the highlight, getting into the shootout, and 21st finishes in both races. James Courtney, on the other hand, 2 very strong finishes from him, and that saw them obviously jump the BJR B team in the standings. Highlight for me with James Courtney, he really showed his experience on Sunday. Waters, Deep Squally, Ryan Wood, all having a bit of a battle there, bumping into each other and whatever, and Courtney just kind of snuck through, past them all, and off he went. The wily old fox that he is. Team 18. Well, Dave Reynolds started off the weekend extremely quick, second fastest in P1, fastest in P2. Then that crash in qualifying didn't seem to recover from there. What I was a little bit surprised with Dave's crash in that qualifying session, Richie had hit the wall and then kept driving. Cam Hill crashed, destroyed the car, crap everywhere, yellow flags are out, and then Dave came along and did the same thing. Sure, the yellow flags were out when he went into the wall, but we're not saying much about that one. Frosty, very, very quiet weekend. As I said, went out with a bit more of a whimper than a bang. Highlight, maybe the low light. It's how you look at it. When he spun fellow retiree Tim Slade early on Sunday morning, earning himself a 15-second time penalty. I'm sure everything for Team 18 will be totally different next year, though, when Anton joins the team. And they'll just jump right up the standings. There's no chance they'll be down in 10th next year. Coming in 9th in the championship, the BJR A team. Considering they've been kind of neck and neck with the B team all year next to each other, they jumped ahead at the final hurdle while the other team dropped down. Obviously, it wasn't helped by only having one car on Sunday, but this whole weekend was set up by them just staying out of trouble, really. They didn't have any DNFs. They didn't crash into walls. They just finished races. Qualifying a bit disappointing. Bryce obviously got himself in the top 10 shootout for the Saturday race, but then went backwards, surprisingly for them, because, Jaime really raced forward in both of the races. And then Bryce was last on the grid on Sunday and then raced all the way up to 12th. And once again, if they could get some qualifying pace in these cars while keeping that race pace, I just wonder where these guys could end up. It's just find some qualifying pace over the holiday period, please. Premier Racing. They were there all weekend. Bugger all qualifying speed from both of them, but Golding got himself just inside the top 10 at the end of the day on Sunday, finished 7th in the championship. If you'd said that at the start of the year, you would have taken that any day of the week. Slade, another one just went out on a whimper, I suppose. It's hard because he probably hasn't really had the equipment this year, but also his teammate was 7th in the championship. He was 20th, I think it was. I can see why they chose who they chose for next year. Matt Stone Racing. Nick Percat had a really quiet weekend all weekend, but that actually saw him get very rewarded on Sunday with 5th in the race. That sees him 8th overall in the championship. Not bad for a guy who forgot how to drive the last couple of years and everyone had written him off. Cam Hill did his best to destroy his car in the last round that they were supposed to be spending together. Team did a really good job to put it all back together and get him back out there. Saw him finish 12th in the final standings, which I think was a jump up a couple of positions over the Adelaide weekend. 7th overall in the team's championship. Doesn't sound as impressive when, these guys were running 5th at certain points during the year. But when you look at the teams in front of them and budgets and all of that, just a really, really good, solid job from the MSR guys this year. Erebus, Cooper had quite the day on Saturday, didn't he? So while he was laps down, he went to pass Frosty, really half-assed attempt. 15-second penalty for wrecking Frosty's race. Well, Bad sportsmanship flag for disobeying blue flags. 2 black flags because of the front quarter panel coming loose. Not a great day for your first day with a new team. Sunday, though, it was a lot better. The only real incident he got himself in was that one with Waters, where he turned in going into the hairpin at the end of the back straight, and Waters kind of sent him off into the tyre barrier there. Just great experience this weekend, though. It gets a good jump start for him on his whole campaign for next year. Brody, for him, just very, very quiet weekend, really. A pair of 6th position, not bad. Sunday might have been a lot better, but he was involved. He was trying to get into that battle right at the start and dove down the inside of Will Brown, where Will Brown turned in on him, but Brody got the 15-second penalty for him. That meant at the first stops, he dropped back right in the field and then had to fight back. So, the weekend, the race was kind of over for him. If it hadn't been for that, he would have been right in that front fight there. You do wonder if all the shenanigans hadn't happened at the start of the year where they could have ended up, and if they had proper sponsors on the car all year and kept that momentum going, it could have been a very different year. But the dream team is going to DJR and they're going to have the Erebus chassis and everything, so maybe DJR will hit the ground running next year. Speaking of DJR, Davison, the quiet achiever on Sunday, somehow staying anonymous and nearly ending up in 2nd position. If he didn't kind of let Mostert attack back, would have finished 2nd in that race. Both cars didn't seem to exist on Saturday, though. Sunday, they actually had a fair bit of pace. Both of them were in the shootout, and if not for Anton getting himself in a few incidents during the race, both would have probably been well inside the top 10, as shown by David Davison nearly getting himself on the podium. In the end, it wasn't enough, though, to beat the Groves in the Teams Championship. And, this team is going to look extremely different come SMP next year, even if they do carry the same paint job once again. Grove Racing. As I said, Richie hadn't sat out around for them, so, you had to get that in before the end of the year. This was the weekend for it to happen. Funnily enough, this was the smallest accident of the three that happened in that Friday qualifying session, and they say they actually had the car ready to go back out if the session had continued. And then he was the one who, had the concussion from it. I'm no brain surgeon, as you've probably noticed. So, I'm not sure how all of that works, but it's not great for Richie, but he'll recover and he'll be back at the start of next year. Did give them a chance to give Kai Allen a shot, but not before Dale Wood had his, return to a main game drive or as the lead driver for the team. Didn't really seem to do too much. He did start last. He kind of stayed out of trouble. He did end up in the kitty litter at one point and just, instead of bogging himself, just casually reversed out and off he drove. Didn't even cause a safety car from it. Then obviously Sunday, Kai got dispensation to enter the race. Copped a lot of damage to the rear on the first lap. I think it was Courtney that ran into the back of him. Surprisingly, no damage to the front of the car, but the rear of the car had a lot of damage, and then he just seemed to drive around off the pace. A good start to his campaign for next year already, getting a bit of seat time, a bit like Cooper Murray's. Payne, a solid fourth on Saturday. Sunday, it all unravelled early on in the race, trying to run too wide with Nick Percat through, I think it's turn 11, and the wheels touched and boom, into the wall. He caused a safety car, got dragged out, and then the bonnet flew off, and then we got all those cool shots of him driving around without the bonnet on. Scafie got very excited about that. In the end, he then got pipped by Thomas Randall for 5th in the championship. 6th, though, still a very, very solid season. He'll have learnt so much this year, and he'll move forward next year. Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Ryan Wood, you were supposed to win on Sunday. You've let me and your whole team down. I may joke about that, but actually when you think about it, he was running 4th at the start of the race, and everything that kind of happened later on, could he have been in that fight for the win? Anton wrecked that, although spinning him around and, wrecking his day in the end. So, it is what it is. Chaz's Saturday was marred by, he got shafted with the qualifying shenanigans on Friday, and then the clutch issues saw him basically last off the start and then just blaze through the field like he had to do at the Gold Coast. Last to 13th is a really, really good drive, but too many times he's having to do these drives from the back. Sunday, front row start, got the jump off the start, off he went. Nothing happened for the rest of the race. Obviously, there was a little bit of a shuffling in the early laps where Feeney had a bit of a go, and then Brown and Kostecki and all of that got involved behind, but it did all seem to settle down. And then we had the pit stops, and it was going to be very close with him and Feeney coming out of the pits at that last stop. And, as he got released, you're like, cool, we're on here. He's got the lead here, and then they released Feeney into the side of him, and then it started to unravel a bit after that again. Obviously, Feeney had a few cracks at him, backward and forward. It was a great battle, and then Feeney had the penalty coming, so could have just let him go. Decided not to, turned in, Feeney spun him, put him in the wall, damaged the back of the car. Brown could catch him and pass him. Stellar effort, though. When Davison got past, it's like, okay, they're all coming through like a freight train, but he actually fought back and then held on to that second position, which was very impressive in the end. Tickford Racing, tale of 2 days. Saturday, locked out the front row, cruising, 1-2 finish on the cards, no problem. then Feeney jumped them in the pit stops, and Feeney had a short fill, will they get him back and all that kind of stuff. And then that third stint of the race, no pace. They still finished third and fifth. Pretty good result, but when they were looking like a nailed-on 1-2 in that first stint, it just felt disappointing in the end. Sunday, Waters must have felt like he was driving a jumpy truck when he got entangled with, I think it was Davison, and boom, up he went, back down. He did race up and down through the field all day, ended up making it a DJR double when he got tangled up with Anton towards the end of the race, and then had to race forward once again. Ended up eventually finishing 10th in the race, not so bad. Randall, on the other hand, Sunday, super quiet day, stayed out of trouble, ended up on the podium for his troubles. Jumped to 5th in the standings, just considering these guys like Tickford overall at the start of the year, we expected, going to a two-car team, bang, they were going to come out blazing. And, they still seemed quite lost early on. For them to finish second in the team's championship, 4th and 5th in the Drivers' Championship, a really strong year from the now two-car squad. And, these guys are going to be extremely strong next year, I predict. Triple A, after Sunday, it's easy to forget that Feeney out-strategized the Tickford boys and went on to win the race. And, Will Brown then just did Will Brown things or whatever and drove forward in the field and ended up finishing second in that race and wrapped up the championship. Saturday seems like so long ago now because Sunday, that was just an all-out fight for bragging rights into the off-season. And for a lot of the day, it looked like Feeney had it nailed because Brown had tried to pass early on and then, did that with Brodie. Brown turned in on Brodie. I don't think it was Brodie's fault, even though Brodie got the penalty for it. But anyway, I've been through then, the pit lane penalty and everything, Feeney getting released into Mostert. They also got a monetary fine and team's championship points for that wheel nut going astray during that pit stop. Whatever could go wrong went wrong with that stop, really. Funny enough, also, they did have a wheel nut kind of go astray on Saturday too, but I don't think that crossed the line, so I think that one was fine. Anyway, for Brown, it was a fitting end to the year. He came from, I'm not sure if he was actually last, but virtually last, just the champion drive by the champion, through the field. It's like he was playing Gran Turismo on easy or something. He was just passing everyone and off he went. And then, I suppose it was fitting that he caught Mostert and passed him and, won the race. Burnout, it was okay. It's hard to live up to what the guys have done. I mean, Shane's will go down in history as probably the best ever. But even, Brodie's effort was probably a little bit better last year. He did blow the tyres and rip the guards off the thing. So, not bad. But, Will Brown, just an outstanding year. I expected Feeney to probably be a bit stronger at the start of the year and then him come on. He's just been strong all year. Well done, Will Brown. So that's my Adelaide review. Down in the comments, let me know what you thought of the racing over the weekend. And don't fear, there will still be lots of episodes in the off-season. I've still got to catch up with the Super 2 boys about their weekend. Hopefully, I've got a couple of interviews potentially happening. Hopefully, we've been waiting on a couple of them, but that should happen over the off-season. Plus, I'll be running through my kind of doing a rundown of my driver rankings for the year as well. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm sure there'll be some news topics because, I'm not sure if all the silly season has finally stopped yet. But, keep an eye out for that. But until next time, I'm still Dave and I'll catch you later.